Oh shit. Ugh. Hopefully the microphone. Oh, it's sticking up in my face. You guys are probably wondering why I'm on the ground. Too lazy to sit in my chair right here. But anyways, this is going to be one of my very first videos doing some type of tech related thing. And in today's first video, I'm actually going to try to make or try to see if a GPU will still work. The first GPU that I want to want to see if it still works is this right here. This is the Intel Arc A570, and this was one of Intel's first attempts at doing GPUs. Now, I got this during COVID, like literally 6 months after they released the A750 and A770, and I got this for, let's see, I got it for $400, which is a lot of money still. I mean, I should have just bought another RX 6650 XT. The reason why I'm making this video is because I remember when I was trying to build, no, when I was selling a PC, the GPU did not want, or there was no power going to the GPU, and basically on the monitor, it was just flashing some colors, and then the GPU fans weren't even spinning. The Intel Arc drivers I know are just, they're not really consistent with AMD and NVIDIA. So obviously for this being a first generation Intel GPU, there were so many issues with it. Like I remember there's only a few games to where this GPU could play it pretty consistently. I totally forgot, but I remember like before I sold the PC, obviously I did switch out the GPU to to an GTX 1650. Now obviously the person I was selling it to, they weren't playing any like very high demanding games. The only high demanding game I'd say that they were playing was The Sims 4. Anything else after that, their PC should be able to handle it. So yeah, I want to just see if this will turn on in my sister's system. Hopefully it won't damage her system. If this card doesn't turn on, that's a bit of a shame because I can't send it back to the manufacturer to get RMA because I'm already past that date. Like again, I bought this during COVID and literally 6 months after its first release. That's when GPU prices were going really crazy. Again, I should have just bought an RX 6650 XT. That GPU lasted me until my next upgrade, which was the 6700 XT. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Let's show you my sister's PC. So here's my sister's gaming PC, obviously a pink case from Dark Flash. Yeah, this was my second PC build. I'd say for a second PC build, not too bad. Now, obviously, I did change out the GPU because the GPU that I bought my sister was a used RX 570 4GB model. Yeah, and then I gave her this one. So this GPU right here is the RX 5500 XT, which this is my very first GPU. And so anyways, so yeah, that's the GPU. The CPU is an Intel, yeah, it's a 10th gen Intel. I remember, oh yeah, it's a 10300F. Or no, not 10300. It's a 10100F. And you know, obviously, four cores and 8 threads, not a bad CPU, especially if you aren't going to be heavily gaming at all. And then RAM, I have 16 gigabytes of OLE. The max frequency that the RAM can run on this system is 2666 megahertz. And the power supply, it's a 650 watt. Now hopefully the power supply should be enough to power the system. I'm not going to be replacing her GPU because again, the only way I'll upgrade her system is if she starts playing more demanding games. The only game that she really plays is Overcooked 2, and that's it. Okay. Oh, I just realized something too. This card requires 2 pins, two 8-pin connectors. That's fine.
One eternity later.
This is a moment of truth right here. I'm a bit scared, to be honest. Oh, okay, it's on. It's what the hell? It's on. Okay, it's working. As you can see right there, the lights on. Lights are on, fans are on. I mean, that's making me happy because um, now obviously this doesn't fully mean that it is stable still. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, because since I already have a ton of games on my system, and I also have 3D Mark as well. What I'm gonna do is I am going to plug that GPU into my system and see if it works and see if it can play games very well. Obviously, not to like what I have. I have an RX 9070, but I mean, my system should be able to like hope it, especially the CPU, because the CPU I have is a 5900X. The only issue that I'm worried about is that my main monitor is a 1440p monitor, and the GPU is not meant for that. So I'm going to have to downscale whenever I am in games. So the first game that I am going to be showing you guys is Battlefield 6, mainly because of just how well optimized the game is, especially for low-end hardware. Now, I did mess around with upscaling a little bit with Intel's own XeSS upscaler, and I also messed around with FrameGen as well. Now, I am playing at 1440p, and in this first clip, I was getting about 60 FPS, but sometimes it would go below that, and then in some areas of the map that I was playing, it would go above 60 FPS, but it was never going like to 70 FPS or even 80 FPS without the upscaler. And then when I turned on Intel's own upscaler, which is XeSS, we went from 60 to the high 70s and sometimes even 80 FPS. And so in this clip that I am showing you guys right now, I did overclock the GPU a little bit by doing an undervolt and a voltage offset. So I undervolted the GPU to about 160 watts and with a voltage offset of 45. And so that's why you see the GPU clock speed is 2496 sometimes, and then it dips back to 2400. And so that was pretty cool to see. But the one thing that did surprise me the most for boosting up our FPS and not even feeling any input lag at all was enabling Intel's own XeSS frame generation. And it went from like to like 80 to 70 FPS with just the upscaler, and then adding on the frame generation, it shot up to 100 FPS, which was pretty amazing to me. And a cool thing too is that I didn't even feel any input lag at all. It felt super smooth, as you guys can see in this clip. So if you are running an Intel Arc A750 GPU, I would recommend turning on the upscaler, the frame gen, if you care about FPS. The upscaler is fine by itself, but if you want more FPS, just turn on that frame gen. And there's also another setting too that I can't really find in my recording, but it's Intel's own anti-input lag for Battlefield 6, and it's in the settings as well. So the next game that I was able to eventually play was Resident Evil Requiem. Now the reason for that is because in Intel's own drivers for both A series and B series GPUs, it says support for the list of games, and Resident Evil 9 was one of them. And this is where I was able to see the limitations of the Arc A750 GPU, and it wasn't really that good. Now, two settings that I did have turned on was AMD FSR 3, and I even enabled frame generation as well. And so, as you can see right here in the clip, we were getting about 60 FPS, sometimes to 70, and then it would dip below that, depending on the cutscene and the area of the map I was in. It would kind of go between those two numbers. And now, the thing that sucked a lot is that even at 1440p with upscaling and then with the frame generation turned on, I was consistently having crashes with this game with all of those settings turned on.
Shit.
Now, for me to remedy all of my crashes happening was I just simply had to change some of my settings. I switched from 1440p to 1080p. I switched from FSR 3 to FSR 1 on balance, and with frame generation still turned on. And every other setting I either turned off, like screen split, like I think it's called screen place reflections. I turned that off, and then some of the other ones I just had on low to normal. I wouldn't recommend setting everything to high on this game or even have ray tracing turned on. So those are my settings, and I was able to play the game for 2 hours with those settings, and it was really fun. Now, was there some input lag? Yeah, especially on Leon's sections. Uh, as you can see right here, I'm showing Leon's section, and even getting 60 to 70 FPS with all that stuff turned on, the input lag was pretty noticeable sometimes. Now, would that ruin your experience? I don't know. For me, it didn't really ruin the experience because I was still able to play a game on this GPU. Okay, so my ARC A750 still works, which makes me super happy because I was worried that this was a dead card. And the reason why is because I spent $400 on it. Now, again, that was during COVID, but spending $400 on the card and it breaking on you and you not being able to get a RMA on it, that sucks. And I was worried about that. But yeah, it still works. Now, will I ever sell it to someone? No, mainly because of the amount of issues I've had with it. Now, when it works, and I have a fun time using it, especially on my 1440p monitor or like in my system. I have a fun time playing games on it because it surprises me by how good it performs, especially at 1080p. But when it comes to games that it doesn't work on or just crashes, just like by even doing a simple fan curve, uh, that's just really ridiculous to me. I don't know if any of you guys with an ARC card have ever experienced that, to where you just simply adjust the fan curve, not even doing any power tuning, like lowering the wattage or increasing the watts to its max or doing a voltage offset. I don't know if any of you guys have experienced your GPU just randomly crashing due to your fan curve. Uh, Again, it is Intel's first gen GPU, so I am still expecting some weird kinks here and there. But overall, I had a really fun experience with it. It can play Resident Evil 9. The only thing that I would recommend if you are running an A750 is to just simply use my settings, turn everything on low from low to the normal. Texture quality, you can leave that on normal. The hair strands, you can leave that on. If you want more performance, you can just disable that. Uh, Everything else, put on low or just like disable it. The game will still look pretty. That was from just my case. And then turn on FSR 1 with balance and then frame generation. Now, like I said, there was some input lag here and there, but it wasn't too consistent for me to notice. I would just notice it sometimes here and there. So anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.